Hi, my name's Jonathan, and my call is NB3I, November Bravo 3 Italy, and I would like to go on a trip to visit my son and his family, his wife and 3 children. We need to let the grandchildren know that they have grandparents. So we're taking a trip here in February to visit our family. However, it's February and it is the time of the ARRL DX CW contest, and so that gives me an excuse to take a radio along. I'd like to kind of reenact a trip that I took in Peru back in 2001 when I had a little photo assignment to visit churches in Peru. Cusco, Peru is a town in the middle of the Andes, and I had the greatest time hiking the Andes and seeing the people and visiting the churches. And then the last weekend I was there, I took a radio along and a vertical antenna, and I was able to put this little vertical antenna on top of the hotel where I stayed, strung a coax down through a little like chimney that had access to the upstairs, the top floor where they dried their wash. And this antenna was just a little vertical antenna. I was able to work the States pretty well for about 6 hours. But I had no access to 40 meters, so from 12 to 6 I had good propagation, and each day for Saturday and Sunday. And it was a really good time. So hopefully I can do the same sort of thing here when I visit Nicaragua. I'm taking a dipole this time, a linked dipole, which will give me 20, 15, 10 for daytime bands and 40 and 80 at nighttime. So I should be able to get a lot more hours in working. And the support for this dipole, I'll use this fiberglass pole, which is good for either a vertical or a support for a dipole in the center. It's a fiberglass pole that's about 4 foot long, and there's 8 sections, so they telescope, and it's 28 feet long if I have 6 inches of overlap. But I'm going to support that. I can use this little dowel to support the fiberglass, and I'll buy a couple 2x4s as a support in Nicaragua, and we'll be able to get it up another 8 feet. So that'll get it up to about 36 feet. And then of course I need strings to guide this thing and support the wire from, hopefully I have trees. You never know what you get in for, but hopefully I have a couple trees that I can string up the dipole, and then I'll be able to change with this linked dipole. I'll be able to change the length of the antenna manually to get on the different bands. So it's not going to be automatic, but will be resident and efficient. And that's what I care about. I'd like to be as efficient as possible. So that all goes in this, what do you call it? Duffel bag. It's not a duffel bag, but it's 4 foot long, and that's 48 inches. You're allowed, what, 62 inches height, width, and length. And if it's 4 foot long, then I'm allowed 7 inches round. So hopefully I can get it into the 7 inches. And then the other carry-on that I have is just a typical carry-on. And I'm just really tickled with how these current radios are just fit in here perfect. KPA 500 will get in the bottom, and then the K3 will go on top of that, and it closes very nice. And then I of course have my boxes of all of the patch cords, headphones, and my trusty little key. I have a trusty little key that I had for a long time. It's not a very good key, It's not a very good key, but it's late, and that's all I care about. And it works pretty good. Of course, I trust that my computer will do most of the keying that's necessary. So we will see how this goes. You're always wondering, will it work? Will I have trees? Will I have good reception? We'll find out when we get there. But that's the mystery of it all. We are now in Nicaragua. We had the greatest time hiking the mountains of Montenegro, Selva Negro. We're visiting the farmers of the area who are working with Mennonite Central Committee as partners developing sustainable agricultural practices, visiting with our family in school and in church and at their home. We even went to the beach our last day that we were there. So we had a really good time. It's just fun to see our family feeling comfortable living in both the English world and the Spanish world. But now it's Friday and it's time to set up for the ARRL DX contest. I should say that everything came through the transportation very well. I did have to pay a duty tax for bringing the radio and the amp into the country, but everything else came through with no questions. I really like these fiberglass poles for field day operations such as this. They just go together really easily, and when you have set them on top of a stand, like in this case, a 8-foot stand with 2x4s, they just makes a real easy tower to work with. As you can see, it's really windy, so I did use these ropes to guide this tower. I have a pulley on the top of the tower so that we can pull up the antenna really easily, as I need to raise and lower it to change the band or the frequency that I operate. The antenna stretches from the trees over to those buildings, and as an inverted V, it did raise the SWR, so I needed to add these little 6-inch pieces of wire at each band at 15, 20, and 40 meter band in order to have good SWR. It's so important to have good SWR with the KPA 500 amplifier, because if you have an SWR greater than 1.5 or 1.4 to 1, it just gives you a fault and it doesn't work to full power. So with adding that little bit of wire allows the dipole, which is normally tuned perfectly, as an inverted V, by adding the little extra wire, you have a perfect antenna. So you can see here in my tests that I have a 1-to-1 SWR, which is perfect. And now with a few more tests, the amplifier is up to 400 watts, which I was running, and we're ready to go. Communicating with Morse code is probably a bit strange to most people in this world of digital communication, and I would agree. If I could trade the Spanish skills of my grandson for Morse code, I would do it in a second. But it is something I learned in high school just for fun, and every once in a while it's fun to set up a station and see what one can do. This contest is scored by the number of contacts one makes multiplied by the number of countries one works. And since this is a U.S. contest, I may be the only operating station operating from Nicaragua, so everyone is looking for me. And sometimes the pileups are so big that it's hard for me to decipher one station from another. But after a while things calm down, and one can copy one station after another. I should say I could not have had a nicer place than here at the El Crucero Mennonite Church. First of all, it sits on a plateau around 3,000 feet, which is to my advantage. But the pastor just took a real interest in what I was doing and fed me wonderfully well, and I felt just totally welcome, even though we could only communicate through signs and wonders. The contest starts at 6 o'clock on Friday evening and runs 48 hours till Sunday evening. But we had plans for Sunday, so I just operated 18 hours from Friday evening to Saturday evening. During that time, I was able to work 2,056 stations. My big disappointment was 80 meters, which is the 3.5 megacycle band. 80 meters is usually a nighttime band, and I had visions of running 80 long into the night, but they couldn't hear me and I couldn't hear them. And I only worked 3 stations. On the other hand, I was totally surprised that 15, which is the 21 megahertz band, was so good. So all in all, I just had a wonderful time during doing this exercise and learning and appreciating the people of Nicaragua. So 73s, which means best of everything to all of you.